I think that the participants have slowed down, so I'm going to start here in a couple of seconds. You should have live transcription as an option, if that would be helpful to you. Welcome. I am Jennifer Akers, the Training and Engagement Manager at Liberty for the Bureau of Quality Improvement Services, or BQIS. Since this presentation is for individuals and families, I want to mention that I'm also the parent of a child with multiple disabilities who used waiver supports and services. And Jessica Harlan York is the director for BQIS. She's multitasking like many of us do. So she is on the phone right now, but when she gets in the office, she will join as well. She wants to welcome you all to this webinar. I also have Janet Delahanty with me. She, with the help of BQIS, created the Quality On-Site Provider Review, or COPR. She's the executive director at Liberty for BQIS, and she will be available to answer any questions that you might have. And we just want to make sure that you understand the functions of quality improvement at BQIS. And we hope this training about the new COPR process will be helpful. As I mentioned, I have live transcription enabled for this training if that's helpful for you. And we're also recording this, and it'll be housed on the BQIS playlist on the FSSA YouTube channel. An announcement will probably go out when the recordings are available. So if you'd like to revisit it at any point, or if you know other individuals or families who are unable to join us for the live session, it will be available there. We're going to hold questions until the end, but you can type in questions using the Q&A feature if you want to kind of put them in there as you think of them so you don't forget them. And then if it's something that's specific to you, Janet might go ahead, or Jessica, and just answer it directly. If it's something that would be helpful to everyone, we're going to do those at the end. And we'll just read out those questions and those answers. So be thinking about any that you might want to ask. If you're having any technical difficulties, feel free to use the Q&A and chat, and we'll try to troubleshoot those. Janet, is there anything technical that's going on right now that I need to address?
Not that I am aware of.
All right, great. So let's get started. To evaluate services, the Bureau of Quality Improvement Services has created the Quality On-Site Provider Review, or because we like to use acronyms, COPR. This process includes an on-site review and evaluation of the quality of services being delivered to individuals receiving waivers. While BQIS will continue to review compliance with Medicaid rules, making sure that they're a qualified provider, that the required employee background checks and training have been done, the state's also going to talk directly to individuals to make sure that they're receiving person-centered quality services. So we will work with your provider to make sure that you're okay with being interviewed. You can say no, but we'd love to talk to you if you're an individual who receives waiver services. And then we'll come up with where and when that will take place. So you will be part of that process. You won't just be drafted into it and surprised. We will make sure that you understand the process and that you agree to it, and that it's a time and place that's convenient to you. So part of what we're going to be looking at are regulatory requirements that we need to follow because we offer waiver services. So part of that is called the Home and Community-Based Settings Rule, or sometimes now they just call it the HCBS rules. These requirements are designed to ensure that people with disabilities living in the community have access to the same kind of choice and control over their lives as those not receiving waiver funding. It also requires a person-centered approach, which demonstrates respect for the person and the dignity of all involved, seeking to discover, understand, and clearly describe the unique characteristics of the person so that the person has control over the choices that they make to achieve the life they want and what makes them happy, has the same rights as everybody else, is supported in achieving their goals, is recognized and valued for their role in their communities, and is supported in a network of relationships, both natural and paid, within their desired community or neighborhood. When conducting the quality on-site provider review, we'll be talking to the provider and individuals about the systems they have in place to ensure the quality of the experiences individuals receive. The settings rule also ensures certain rights and protections. Individuals receiving services are entitled to all of the same control and choice that we all have. This means making decisions. It means having control over personal schedules, including what time to get up and go to bed. It includes when and what to eat. It means choices about whom to live with and where. It means being able to fully use all areas of one's living space. It means having full access to one's possessions, money, and household items. All of us need dignity, respect, and freedom from threats and restraint in order to maintain a high quality of life. Copper Conversations will seek to discover whether these rights are being protected or restricted. If they're being restricted, then we'll look at modifications, which is the official word that the feds use, to specific requirements when an identified need's documented in the individual's person-centered plan. Individuals should understand that process and ask questions if they don't. Individuals can always talk to their case manager or BQUIS if they feel like their rights are being violated and they don't have the same choice and control that everyone else does. You've heard the term person-centered a few times now, so let's look at what that means. BQUIS believes that the individual receiving services and support should be in charge of what those look like. When delivering home and community-based supports, it's the individual who leads the development of a plan for those services by sharing what their vision of a good life is. Person-centered service plans should be strength-based, person-centered, and reflect integrated supports, assistive technology, community-based services, relationships, etc. Case managers should help find services beyond just the waiver as needed so that individuals have a meaningful day. When conducting the quality on-site provider review, we'll be asking the provider if their practices are person-centered and support individuals to live their best lives. In evaluating person-centered practices, we've organized the questions around the life course domains. Life domains are the different areas of your life that we all consider as we age and grow. Individuals should have opportunities for life experiences that build confidence, connections, responsibility, employment, and friendships. We'll be having conversations with individuals and their support staff and supervisors to see if individuals are being supported in these areas. Since some of you might be on a mobile device or calling in and the text is kind of small, I'm going to go ahead and read the domains and life stages on this slide so that you know what we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at whether or not you have a meaningful day. So that's what you do as part of everyday life. It might be school, it might be a job, volunteering, what you're working on and kind of what your day looks like on a daily basis. Community living, which is how and where you live. So what kind of community access you have, if you have access to transportation, if you have the home modifications that you need. Safety and security, so that there's a plan for emergencies, that you understand your legal rights, if there's any issues, what those might be. Healthy living is healthcare and staying well. So are you getting to your medical appointments? Are mental health things being addressed? Are behavior and developmental challenges or goals being addressed? And then wellness and nutrition. Social and spirituality, which is building friendships and relationships. So things that you do for fun, including perhaps churches or other faith communities. And then citizenship and advocacy, which is building valued roles, making choices, setting goals, and the fact that with responsibilities, there may be consequences that are natural that all of us have, but that you have a chance to take the same risks that other people do, and that you understand those risks when you choose them. And this goes across the lifespan. So wherever you are, either in school age or transition to adulthood or aging, some of those things may change, and they may change on a regular basis, and they should, because as you go through life, as all of us do, things change and our priorities change. So we'll be looking at that. So this is different than what we've done in the past. We've changed the review process because we want an approach to delivering supports that's focused on what's important to the individual. The individual should direct the development of the plan, which describes the life they want to live in their community, the things they want to do, people they want to see, activities they want to do, and the elements of their own version of a good life. Services and supports are then coordinated across providers and systems to carry out the plan and make sure it matches the person's vision. And then we circle back to the individual to measure the quality of services and seek ways to improve. So to assess service delivery, this is kind of what the process will look like. It'll include a 2-day on-site review conducted by a quality reviewer. Some of that will be in the provider's office. Some of that might be at day services. Some of that might be in the individual's home, because we'd love to see where you live. We'll have conversations with individuals, with support staff, supervisors, management. We'll review key documents to ensure provider standards are being met. And then there'll be a wrap-up meeting, which will include an opportunity for the provider to request technical assistance and training regarding any of the assessment. We want to help them provide the best services they can to the individuals who receive them. So to assess the quality of services being delivered, we're going to be looking at what we call indicators, both for the organization and for the individuals. So through conversations with the individual and the provider, we'll ensure that the organization supports individual choice and control, because services should support independence, not create a barrier to it. So since the text might be small again, I'll read the list of indicators that we'll be looking at. And this is for the provider, that there's a system in place to support individuals in minimizing risk while living their best possible lives. There's a system in place to ensure individuals have the best possible health while promoting independence and choice. That the provider supports individuals to develop relationships outside of the service delivery system. The provider supports self-advocacy and choice. They support individuals to actively participate in any scheduled team planning meetings, and that there are strategies in place to learn what's important to and for individuals and implement that strategy in the person-centered planning process. Through conversations with the individual and those who know them best, we'll be looking at additional indicators. We want to ensure that individuals have choice, control, privacy, and freedoms. Again, since the text might be small, I'll read the list of indicators. We'll be looking at whether the individual participates in the assessment process and prepares for their PCISP meeting in a way that communicates their wants, needs, and desires. However they might do that, if they use communication devices, pictures, gestures, whatever that is. The person has control over the services they want to receive and are currently receiving. The person knows and evaluates all their choices as they relate to the services they get. The provider, as a member of the team, uses their community contacts, relationships, experiences, and resources to contribute to supporting action toward an individual's preferred life and goals. And the provider complies with the settings rule as it relates to facilitating choice. COPPER is designed to ensure a variety of voices and perspectives are heard. The most important voice is that of the individual and the family, but we know we can learn more about the quality of services by also hearing from their support staff, staff supervisors, and management. We want to make sure that the team is working effectively and in a coordinated manner, that services and supports meet the individual's needs and achieve their goals, ensure choice and control, and enhance community participation. COPPER isn't the only tool that Beads and Bequests use to ensure individuals receive quality person-centered services. We want to make sure that you're aware of those as well. Children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities utilizing supports and services through Beads must have an incident report filed by a service provider when an event that could cause harm or injury to the individual occurs, and these are reported through the online incident reporting system. Any individual, guardian, family member, or community member has the right to file a complaint on behalf of an individual receiving waiver services through Beads. You can file a complaint if you feel the provider hasn't followed state or federal rules or program requirements, and BQUIS will then investigate the complaint and determine the best course of action to resolve the situation. BQUIS also reviews a sample of individual case files each month to make sure that all state and federal rules and requirements have been met, including necessary information, the individual's needs and wants, and that the individual has choice. All deaths of individuals that receive BEAD services, no matter where they lived at the time of death, are reviewed by BQUIS, and providers must notify BQUIS of a death through the incident reporting system so BQUIS can review it. The National Court Indicators Project collects information through various ways to determine where the quality of waiver supports and outcomes can be improved. Some of you may participate in this. These surveys were recently conducted by the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community at IU. If you can find more information about all of these on the BQUIS website, we're updating it so that it has the same information that I just shared with you. But if you have questions about any of these activities, you can talk to your case manager about it, but you can also feel free to contact BQUIS. I'm going to give you that contact information. We want to ensure that all people are empowered to live, love, learn, work, play, and pursue their dreams. That's the point of waiver services. That's the point of quality improvement. We want to make sure that that's happening for you, that you're in charge, that you have control, and that you're living your best life. So if you need information, we're going to take questions here in a second, but this is the contact information. Again, you can find this on our website. You can call BQUIS at 800-545-7763, or you can email us at bquis.help@fssa.in.gov. If you need help doing either of those things, you can also talk to your case manager or to the local BEADS office. So you have different ways to reach us, and you can feel free to do that at any time. So we're going to move into questions and answers. If you have any, please realize that this will be recorded and live. So if it's a question specific to you that's very personal, it might be best for you to give us your email so that we can contact you outside of this webinar. But if you've got general questions, Janet and Jessica are going to help me field those because Zoom takes over my screen and I lose everything. Janet, Jessica, do we have questions?
At this point, no, we do not have any questions.
Huh. All right, we did such a great job that they know everything they need to know. I know I'm the type of person that sometimes when I get new information, I kind of need to think about it a while before I have questions, and I imagine that will happen. So as you might review this, or you talk to your case manager, or you learn more about this, if questions pop up, this isn't your only chance. You can feel free to contact us at any time. So some of you might have asked questions where Janet just went ahead and typed the answer to you, specifically if it was specific to you. I see now, though, that there is a little bubble that says there is a question, perhaps.
There is. So the question was, does our case manager set up the 1 to 2 day survey? And the answer is no. BQUIS will work directly with the provider, and then the provider will work with the individuals to get a time and place that they are comfortable meeting with us at.
And part of what I've probably forgot to mention is this has been going on for a year through the pilot stage. So we have been doing this with some of the providers who offered to be part of the pilot. So we have already been out on site talking to individuals who agreed to be interviewed, and we did that in a way that was respectful of COVID. And so now, beginning in September, we're going to be moving into a phase where we will start choosing providers every quarter, and they'll be notified, and we'll reach out to you as well if you are involved in that and are part of the people who will be interviewed.
So Jennifer, I'm going to let you answer the next question since you are a lot more familiar with the website than I am. We're being asked, where can they read the HCBS settings rule as Indiana has implemented it?
That should be available through the DDARS website. If you email me, I'm jennifer.akers@fssa.in.gov. I can send you to the direct spot. But if you go to the main DDARS website, there should be one about the home and community-based settings rule. The providers also recently had 2 opportunities to have training about the settings rule. I gave you some of the text. There is a fact sheet that BEADS put out as well about the settings rule. So if you're looking for that information, there are some things that have not yet been totally implemented. It started in 2014. So some things are already in place. Some of the things that have to do specifically with settings, we went through an evaluation and review process for those, and some providers still may be working on coming into compliance because I don't think it goes into effect until 2022 or 2023. They keep moving it, pushing it back out some because of copper. But all states are, it's kind of like special education law in that we all have to follow the federal rules, and Indiana may have some specific things that they're doing, but they have to be stronger than the federal rules, not weaker. So we will be getting into compliance, as will the rest of the states, to make sure that we're following federal guidelines, because if you're not following the HCBS rules, then you're in jeopardy of not being able to get funding. So I will make sure that you have that information. I'll see if I can do that without losing the whole thing and put it in the chat, but you're probably better off emailing me again at jennifer.akers@fssa.in.gov, or you can use the Bequist help. We'll send it to you that way too.
And then our next question is, who are providers? Is this housing providers?
Right, that's a question for you.
So
I think they mean probably like ResHab.
Yeah. So it is not like a landlord situation, as is what I think of when I hear the term is this housing providers. We are starting with providers who do residential services. So looking at the CIH waiver and then the ResHab component, it may be people who live with their families. It may be people who live by themselves. It may be people who live in what would be considered a provider owned and controlled setting. And so we are starting with those folks. Then we're going to move into day services. And then from there, we'll look at some of the other services such as behavior management, recreation therapy, music therapy, that sort of thing. So initially, it will be residential providers. The next question is, if we are reviewing.
Could I jump in real quick too? This is Jessica.
Sure.
I think also, just to, as Janet mentioned, there will be the home and community-based settings rule is not just for residential services. Tends to be a misconception about that. It applies to every service within our waivers. So as Janet mentioned, we have focused on the residential providers, but this will be something that we conduct for every type of service. It really is a focus on the person and the services and supports that they receive and how providers can do better, and we as a state can do better in supporting them. Sorry about that for interrupting you.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Then our next question is, if we are reviewed during one quarter, will we be reviewed again in another quarter at the same year, same location in different quarters, same provider in different quarters? So those are a lot of questions. The answer is we are planning to visit each provider every 3 years. We will look at all of your services at the same time that we're there. So you should not receive multiple visits. And we are also looking to, when we set the schedule and choose the providers, we are being very mindful of when your accreditation period is. So if you have CAR for CQL or JCO, whatever the agency is that accredits you coming out in 2022, then we will try not to schedule your quality on-site provider review during that same year. So Jessica, did you have anything else about that?
I don't think so. No, I think Janet, you covered it. I mean, we don't want to, this isn't meant to be burdensome on providers or to disrupt obviously anyone's services or their day. And it really is much more of a, collaborative approach that we're working with providers and working with teams and working with individuals and families. It's not meant to be here's a list of things that so-and-so is doing wrong. I mean, it really is, and Jennifer will probably touch on this, but it really is also for us as the state and as us utilizing our resources to provide support to the individual and the team and families really on things that maybe would be helpful to better support the individual.
Yeah, this really is a chance. As the training and engagement manager, I'm part of COPPER as well. And so I join the wrap-up meeting. And so as we talk about things, concerns that the individual might have or that the reviewers might have, it's just a chance then for the providers to say, we'd like to do this differently. So what are some ideas for community mapping and finding what some different volunteer opportunities are or leisure activities are in our community? And then I help them find those things. If they're struggling with how to make sure that the individual has as much choices and control as possible, then we talk about how we can look at dignity of risk and make sure that the individual can make informed decisions, that they understand that there are risks to some of their decisions, but that they know what those are when they go ahead and decide to try something new. And then also, mitigating those risks. There are things that we can do to make it as safe as possible, but still let them try some new things. And so I'm also available to the providers year round. So if something comes up later that they think of, they can go ahead and reach out to me. So I've been doing that through the pilot stage as well. And it really is, as Jessica said, working collaboratively with the providers, because what we want to do is make sure everybody's getting quality services, and we want to provide the supports for that to happen. So if there are things that they could be doing better, then we're there to help them do them better.
Okay, then we have another question. What will the quarterly reviews with different providers look like? Are you only talking to the individuals and staff? Will there be any need to review documentation and policy? So I'll take that one. The primary way of collecting information is through conversation. So we will go in, and really what we want to do is make sure that what the individual is telling us kind of goes through the whole organization. And by that, I mean, if we're talking with one of the individuals in service and they say, I can't eat in my bedroom, then we're going to have a conversation with the DSP, and we're going to say, are there any house rules, any limitations on where people can eat? And we're going to try to, without saying the person that we just talked to said she can't eat in her bedroom, we're going to try to get the DSP to let us know kind of what the expectations are within that home. And then we're going to take that information up to the next level to a program manager, a Q, an executive within the organization. And we're going to say, well, while we were visiting this person, this is what we learned. And then we talked to the DSP and this is what they said. And then we're going to hear, we want to hear kind of what the management philosophy is. So just a quick example of something that we learned during one of the pilots was one of the individuals that we talked with said that she was not allowed to have snacks in her room because of bugs. The DSP confirmed, yep, she's not allowed to have snacks in her room because of bugs. The DSP also confirmed while we were talking to them that there had never been any bugs in the room, but this was just something that made sense to them. So when we took that information back to the management, they said, oh no, that's just silly. You know, we clean up after people. We help people clean up after themselves. There's absolutely no reason why that person can't have a snack in their room before they go to bed. So what we found from that was an opportunity then for training, because clearly the people working in the home had a different expectation for the people who were living in their home than what the management staff had. So it's really kind of trying to connect all of those dots. And if the dots don't connect, then identifying that disconnect and helping the provider to work through it. In regards to reviewing documentation and policy, it is not something where we're going to sit down and expect the provider to give us their policy manual and we're going to look at them just to look at them. We may, if we find conflict between something, maybe a rights issue where the individual says to us, well, no, my rights have never been reviewed with me. And the management staff is saying, yes, they have. Then we might ask to see the policy that sets the expectation on when that is done. We also have during the pilot on occasion, in talking to the individual and talking to the DSP, some things have just kind of piqued our interest, specifically related to what might be in the PCISP regarding maybe a person's desire to work, or maybe something in the BSP regarding a restriction. And so in that case, we would also look at those documents just to kind of help us get a full picture of what's going on with the person. And then it might be, depending on what we learn as part of that document review, that we reach out to the case manager, because we understand that, we are there to review the provider and give them a report, but our biggest focus is on each of the individuals. And so there may be times where afterwards we do a follow-up with the case manager or other members of the team. Okay, then the next question is, will RETH facilities be visited at a certain time? It sounds like you may be visiting facilities by certain specialty groups quarter by quarter. So the way that we are selecting which providers we visit with when is based on a couple of things. First, as I mentioned before, we're looking at providers who offer residential services first and then day services. We are also taking into account where providers are located geographically, because we have a limited number of people who are doing the copper. And so we want to spread the reviews out across the state, because that's where our staff are located. We also need to be aware of size of providers. Again, looking at resources, we would not plan to visit 10 large providers during the same month. So that's something that we would take into consideration. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we will look at when your accreditation is due. So we really don't have providers divided out by specialty and have them fall into a certain quarter. There are many things that we're going to consider as we map out our group. The hope is that early on, we're kind of under a time crunch with getting you all made aware of what's going on before we start the process. So September providers will get 2 to 3 weeks notice. And then after that, we will, hopefully be able to give 30 to 60 days notice on when we'll be coming.
And again, it's really about the individual. So if for some reason they wanted us to meet them for part of, ideally it'll be in their home, so we can kind of see that they have control over the things that they should have control of in their home. but we recognize that some providers offer rec therapy, music therapy, day services in a facility as well. And so if that's part of the individual's day and there's something they want us to know about rec therapy, then it really is about the individual. It's really focused on the individual and who their providers are and what their day looks like and if they're all working together. So as Janet said, the focus is really ResHab and day service to begin with, because those are the biggest providers who touch the most number of people. But we'll be looking at what makes up that person's day, if that makes sense.
Okay, we have another question, and this
Okay.
one I'm going to let Jessica answer. So if an individual has a guardian, who is responsible of notifying them if their family member has been selected for an interview, and do they have to be present?
Excuse me. So we will be, I mean, we're reaching out. This is about the individual. So if a person wants their guardian to be involved in that conversation, obviously that's fine. They might not, they might just want to talk freely with us. So we'll be working with the provider to contact the individual directly and about their services and supports. Does that make sense, Janet?
Yes, it does. Yep. Okay, at this time, there are no more questions. Hopefully everyone can see the chat. I did give you Jessica's email address, Jennifer's email address, and my email address, so that if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly.
Yeah, Janet, I was going to ask you, are people able to see that? I wasn't sure. Do you know?
I believe that they can. I have the chat set up to go out to everyone.
Awesome. Okay. I didn't know if, and feel free, honestly, you guys to contact me directly. I think we've had some private messages, so we will make sure to record those and reach back out to you guys. And Jennifer is a wealth of knowledge. So if you have, we have many contacts in other states on some things that they're doing. So if there's resources that you're searching for, we're happy. It doesn't have to be during copper. I mean, please reach out to us at any point if you're looking for some resources and just maybe want to talk through some stuff. We're happy to help. I would also encourage you, if you're not, I like to plug this, to join our Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, the Indiana Beads page, we put out probably daily some either announcements or resources, videos. So please feel free to like our page as well as our listserv. So if you go to our website, you can join if you haven't already, the DDRS listserv. We put out, again, lots of information, announcements, things about the home and community-based rule. Great way to get information and stay on top of things. If you can't find that, I believe, and I apologize because I'm not on the website right now, I believe there is a link at the top of the DDRS page, and you click it and you can sign up. If you can't find that, feel free to email myself or Jennifer, and we can make sure that you guys have access to that.
So, Jessica, I did get one additional question, and then someone commented that they can't see the chat. And okay. I apologize for that. There is a feature that I was able to click on that is telling me who can see your messages. And it's telling me that everyone in the meeting should be able to see and save messages sent to everyone. And so I have confirmed that I have done that. So I apologize. I don't know why you're not able to see the information.
And you can always use the Bequist help that's on the screen right now, and they will funnel it to us, so especially if you say, I want to speak specifically to, but we all follow the same pattern. So you see it's bequist.help. So it would be janet.delahanty at fssa.in.gov. It would be jennifer.akers at fssa.gov, and it would be Jessica Harlan York. I'll go back to the first page that has our spelling of our names.
And then we did have one more question, which is a great question that I wanted to address, and that is, what if individuals are nonverbal? So we will talk with the provider to find out who knows that person the best. So it may be a DSP, it may be a family member, it may be an advocate, it could be the case manager. And we will talk with that person. We would like for the individual to be present, because even though they are nonverbal, we believe that, you know, individuals communicate in many ways. And so we will watch for reactions. We have had individuals who have taken us into their bedrooms where all of their favorite things are, and they you know, just light up. Their expressions are different. So we provide training to our staff to look for those types of things. So if I go into someone's room and they suddenly light up and get excited, then for me, that might be an indication that they had a role in decorating their room and they're happy with everything that they have in there. It might be that if I'm talking to somebody about eating and I bring up peas and spinach and their emotions on their face changes, then that's probably a pretty good indication to me that they don't like peas and spinach. So then I'm going to keep running through a list until I present a food group that they get real excited about. So, you know, even though they're not nonverbal, we are still able to engage them in the conversation and get a sense of some things that they may like or not like. And then, like I said, we'll follow that conversation up with someone who knows them well.
And as far as communicating with them also from our standpoint to make sure that everyone understands this process, we've created some information sheets that the provider will have. So it will explain the process to their DSP and anyone who works with them. And then we have one in plain language with pictures as well for the individuals so that they understand the process and they can ask questions in the way that they ask them, be that sign language, gestures, communication device, whatever. I had a child who used a communication device, so I'm very aware that there are other ways to communicate. Heather Dane, who's the director of Home and Community-Based Services, has a child who uses a communication device and gestures, so we are sensitive to that and know that they do communicate. And as Janet said, we'll work with them to get that information so that we know that they are receiving quality services as well.
And I think too, to add to that, I mean, we love being able to meet people in person. Because of that, it's so important to see all types of communication, not just verbal, and especially the relationship between an individual and their DSP and the people that they live with. We really take all the, we're really observing too during, and not just obviously talking. So and we're monitoring. I don't know if this question has come up, but we are obviously continuing to monitor the pandemic. We last year did not meet people in person, at the very beginning. We respect people's, situations. And if people don't feel comfortable with us meeting them in their homes, we're still in some good weather. So we do, we can sit outside if that makes people more comfortable. So obviously we'll take that into consideration as well.
And excellent timing, Jessica. That question did just come up.
Oh, did it? I didn't even see it. I figured it.
We also, so we take our lead from the provider. We have done some of the pilots where when we were at the provider's office, we were all in masks. We were all sitting, 6 feet away from each other. We have gone into individuals' homes where we have worn masks, they have worn masks, the direct support staff have been in masks. We have, rather than sitting on the couch next to the individual, we may sit in the chair across from them. We really do take our lead from what the individual is comfortable with and what the provider is comfortable with. And then, clearly we would not walk into a home where someone was currently active and having COVID. And then we have also a couple of the BQuist staff who were scheduled to do the review have been exposed, and at the last minute we canceled because we certainly did not want to put anyone at risk. So we are very much aware that it is an issue, and our ultimate goal is to keep everybody safe.
Do you have
And
any more questions?
at this point, there are no additional questions.
All right, great. We are so glad that you could join us today for this training. Again, more information will continue probably to come out, and you can review this at any time. So if you think of questions later, feel free to reach out to us. Hopefully, if your provider has been chosen, they would have additional information as well, but you can always come to us and we are happy to help. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.